Welcome back, folks, and now I want to talk about a great film coming out. It is called Running for Grace. You can find out more information. We're going to put the trailer on the article on this, and we'll link to that information on the YouTube version of this if you're catching this there. It is just an interesting film about the power of adoption and family and identity and some different issues that are going on that you are very likely unaware of. And we're very blessed to have writer, producer, and director David Cunningham on with us now. David, how are you doing?
I'm good. Appreciate you having me on.
Oh, we appreciate your time. First, let's give everybody a little overview of the film itself and what they can expect.
Yeah, it's a family film made for the whole family, and so it's not only safe for them, but I have a family of 5, and I wanted to make a movie that we all wanted to watch after wrestling over that remote many times. And my girls wanted to watch one thing, and my boy another, and so we set out to make a family film that was both uplifting and inspiring and perhaps brought to light some issues that are relevant to the day, biblically based issues, and as you mentioned, the power of adoption. So our movie is set in 1920s Hawaii during a time where there was a federal law where children could not be adopted who were of mixed ethnicity. They called it racial integrity. And this is about a little boy who is half Japanese, who's an orphan, half white, and he's rejected by both communities. And he's taken under the wing by a new doctor that comes to town, a plantation doctor, played by Matt Dillon. And they begin a father-son relationship, and the boy attempts to overcome the social boundaries of the time and pursue his own dreams. It also stars Jim Caviezel from Stars of Passion, and some of your younger listeners may know Ryan Potter from Disney's Big Hero 6 and the spin-off television series. So we've got a great cast and it's set in a unique world, and hopefully messages of the power of adoption and the themes, as you mentioned, identity, triumphing over obstacles, all of those types of things. Yeah.
So obviously the film is going to deal with some very powerful issues. I mean, the story of racism in Hawaii alone will seem like a shock to some folks. How does that sort of told, and what is it you think people will come away with that?
Well, today I live in Hawaii, and all my children born and raised there, and have a real love for the place. It's my third movie to make there, and we have a studio there. And it's the most ethnically diverse state in the Union, but it wasn't always that way. And I think this is a snapshot of not just Hawaii, but a snapshot of a time when segregation and racism was not only a part of society, it was built into law. And I think it's really important for us to see where we've come from, not just Hawaii, but as a nation and around the world, with a lot of these things that have held people back for so many generations. So this is really about championing the whole concept, not only the power of adoption, but also that however God made you, whatever family you're born into, whatever your dreams are, that they can be achieved. And it requires tenacity, but God can bring the grace along the way. And that's kind of the play on words with the title, Running for Grace.
We're talking with David Cunningham about the new film, Running for Grace. You can get more information at that website called runningforgracemovie.com, and we will also include that link there. And, David, you talked about the cast briefly, and let me touch on that, because obviously Jim Caviezel's legacy is just forever carved out in Hollywood history, but Matt Dillon has just such an amazing resume. Ryan Potter is a name most people may not know, but they don't know him as the voice of Hero from Big Hero 6. They will certainly learn him because he plays Beast Boy in the new Titan series, and I got a feeling that may make him a lot more popular in certain circles. So talk about marketing the film to those individuals and how they ended up joining the project.
Yeah, to attract cast that has a lot of opportunity and a lot of people pursuing them, it really comes down to 2 basic things. Do they resonate with the script, and do they trust the director? And I was blessed that both Matt and Jim felt like both those boxes were checked. They were fans of some of my other work, and the script really resonated with them. I've known Jim in the past somewhat, so we were able to kind of resurrect a relationship already. And we may be doing some other work together, too, in the near future. So it was just a real privilege to be able to direct these guys. Matt is a legend in his own right, Academy-nominated actor with, 3-4 decades of movies. And Jim with all of his films, and, of course, his global smash hit of The Passion of the Christ. So it was a joy and a privilege to work with them and the entire cast.
That's awesome. It's great. And it's great to see some Hollywood names getting behind projects like this with such great family messaging and something that's appropriate. And we can really introduce our kids now to certain actors and players in Hollywood history that may not be able to see in other films. And I want to transition quickly to another thing I saw in some of your press about this, and that was kind of like what I loved about the new Mission Impossible film was that there's a lot of practical effects, like, Tom Cruise learned to do all those crazy stunts. But you have a great story about how there was a day where this sort of, for lack of a better term, fog rolled in, and it allowed you to have this incredible practical scene done, this practical effects that kind of came in and replaced what was planned to be computer effects.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you score with the weather, and sometimes you really don't. And on the Big Island, we have 11 of the 13 climate zones on one island. And right now in the news is of course, a lot about the volcano that's going on. And in fact, the movie has a little bit about that. And what happens is if the trade winds shift, the VOG, V-O-G, comes around to the other side of the island and kind of creates this white blanket. And we've been experiencing that in the Big Island recently. It's finally starting to lighten up a bit. But that's been going on and off for generations, including in the 1920s. And I wanted to recreate that, and we happened to get the real stuff came around just at the right time, and we had to switch scenes, get the actors to switch wardrobe right away, and within just a matter of a few minutes, we were filming an entirely different scene. So yeah, sometimes it all works with you, and sometimes it goes the other way. But we happen to score. So when you see those scenes, they're not there's no computer generated imagery. It's all for real.
Well, speaking for someone that hasn't been to the island, I'm looking forward to that scene again and again to really kind of relive that experience that I haven't experienced personally, and it's brought to life as real as you can see, folks. It's just awesome. So the film, we mentioned adoption briefly, but I wanted you to speak to that topic and how this film can hopefully help move that conversation forward, because it's definitely one of my passions is that the topic of adoption is ignored in most pro-life discussions, debates, abortion conversation, that kind of thing. It's like this is the side of the coin that keeps getting ignored, and it's one that I was very passionate about. My wife and I have been saved from our past and come together, but we had divorces in our past, so we didn't qualify for many adoption programs. We were trying to seek that as a way to expand our family further, and it seems like one just riddled with red tape and bad reputations and horrible rumors. How's the film help with that, and where do you think the conversation can go?
Yeah, so this is my third project is dealing with the general issue of adoption and championing, be it the unwanted, for lack of a better word. I should mention that Jim Caviezel's adopted 2 children from China. I personally have not adopted, but look for and champion and support those that have and that are considering. And I think it's such a powerful thing, not only for that individual who's taken in and their entire lives transformed, but it does something to a community. And in Hawaii, we have this term called hanai, which is it's a cultural term of basically that recognizing that everyone needs a family, everyone needs to belong, and as that is championed, as that is celebrated, it can transform a community and a whole mindset as we start looking out for one another and look for ways for transformation. So, Jesus was adopted by Joseph, right? And it's such a powerful metaphor for the gospel, adoption. and we've been adopted into his kingdom. So, this movie isn't meant to preach to the choir, so to speak, but we sure could use the choir's help, and we want to champion those that are in this area. And we've been doing red carpets across the country, red carpet benefit premieres, inviting adopted families to the red carpet because they do carry so much, and trying to honor and celebrate them. And of course, we want to encourage people to consider adoption and those that are involved in fostering and youth at risk. There's so many champions and heroes out there, and we hope that this film will help celebrate them and perhaps put a spotlight on these folks and maybe provide resources for them. So it's a way for us to kind of wave the flag of adoption and youth at risk.
David Cunningham's new film is called Running for Grace, runningforgracemovie.com. And David, when can people see this, and how can they get a copy for themselves or see it?
So it opens across the nation in select theaters this Friday, the 17th. And then it's also available if it's not near you, if you can't get to a theater that's not close enough to you, not to fret. You can go and buy it and download it for iTunes. For locations of where the theaters are and how to download from iTunes, you can go to our website, runningforgracemovie.com. And there's also a way for you to give this movie to an adopted family and gift it to those that have adopted. And you can see that on the website as well. And I'm thrilled to see that people are doing that. We just had an order of 300 digital downloads for families who have adopted kids who are disabled, who couldn't make it to the theater. And so we look forward to bringing that to them next week.
That's awesome. And let me close out, David, really quickly, just to tease your next project. I believe it's called The Wind and the Reckoning, and also working with Jim Caviezel again, and another great cast. You want to tease that a little bit, give everybody a little idea what they might expect from that?
It's an action-adventure movie set in 1890s. It's a Western, and kind of a molasses Monkey Confide, but it's all about championing family and marriage, but in a context of action and adventure set in the past. So similar to what we were doing here, where we want people to be swept away at a time and a place, but we want to bring forward values and to promote the discussion that we really believe is biblically based.
Awesome. Folks, it's Running for Grace, runningforgracemovie.com. We will put in some links and trailers and some information there to help you find your way to that, to partner with this, catch that film, and really to spend a nice time with the family enjoying a good message and a good product. So we thank David for joining us, and we appreciate your grand support to making these interviews come to life. Thank you again.